You should have finished the lesson just on introverts and learning about what it means to be an introvert, what is and is not considered traits of an introvert. So, I'd like to talk now about using your powers wisely. And this means people who deal with anxiety and depression and also introverts have great strengths. And actually, if you learn to use these strengths for good, then they actually is like a superpower. So think about that. Think about it being compared to a superpower. How when we learn to hone these skills, learn to really utilize them in our lives and for things we want to accomplish, it's actually an amazing trait to have. So your weakness is your strength. Really, I like to look at this as being the fact that you are very in tune with yourself and very insightful with yourself, also with others. I find that individuals with anxiety and introverts, they can carry the world on their shoulders. They really feel for others, very empathetic, understanding. And this allows us also to be able to read and understand others. So while we carry this burden, we can use this to accomplish a lot in our life. So this is what I'm talking about, that extrasensory perception. This fact that you have great insight on yourself, as you know, at times can plague you. So individuals who have anxiety and are also very introverted, insightful, and inward are very aware of what's going on inside their bodies. They're very aware of every little tick and twinge that happens, which of course can create anxiety, right? So if we feel like there's something wrong, we feel something different in us, then we can catastrophize and worry that something terrible is going to happen to us. But in reality, if we recognize and have become very in tune with our bodies, this becomes a great strength. People with anxiety and again, introverts can find themselves predicting their sickness 3 days before it happens. They also know too, they're very aware of the things they eat, the things they put into their body, how they're going to react to it when it comes to exercise. So even like performance sports, other activities, they know how far they can push themselves. They know they can push themselves even further because they know what their body can take. And of course, this extrasensory perception also allows us to be able to read others as well. So this is what I call the X-ray vision. You can easily see the insides of others. In other words, you feel what others feel, you sense, and you often have the great ability to pick up on social cues. The tough thing about it is, sometimes it's hard to be Superman, all right? Sometimes it's hard to know what's going on. Always be aware of, the happenings of others, their struggles, their hurt. And so we have to learn that, hey, you know what? That's a good thing, but we have to set limits and boundaries. So I say use your powers for good and not evil. Of course, it's not evil to help others, to be aware of others and what they're struggling with, and to help others. We, of course, again have to think of that example of the airplane, being in the airplane and having the oxygen mask drop down, right? What do we know? What do they teach us before we take off? Make sure you put that mask on yourself first before you help others. Because if you're not in shape and if you're not in a situation where you can help others, you're going to not be there to help others. So learn what you can't. Learn that you can't and don't need to save everyone. So recognize that there are times when people need to do more for themselves than you're doing for them. We have a saying in counseling and therapy, and that is, if you're working harder than your client, then you're working too hard and they're not going to get better. So be aware, set limits, set boundaries, and be sure to take care of yourself. Okay, self-care, that's the key to controlling your powers. So one example I love to use is comparing your anxiety, depression, and introvertism to like diabetes. All right. In that, a person with diabetes, then there can be different situations. Some individuals, though, if they take care of themselves, in other words, if they exercise, they eat right, they get sleep, they keep their stress in check, It's like they don't have any problem whatsoever. They're good. And actually they're in better shape than probably if they didn't have diabetes because they have to. It's nice to be able to have an excuse. Yeah, hey, sorry, I can't have that soda. I've got diabetes, right? Or, I got to go and exercise this morning. I need to take care of myself. And so by doing this, we end up living a happy, healthier life. And so this is the same thing dealing with anxiety and depression. This is the same thing. If you take care of yourself and you keep a balanced life, you'll manage, right, the symptoms. And not only that, you'll be healthier than you would have been before. And of course, this is all about taking care of yourself. And this will help you, again, use these powers wisely. Because you do. You have amazing insight on yourself and others. You have the amazing ability to pick up on read things that are going on around you. And so use this to your advantage. Become close to people. Be genuine. Use this to understand people at your workplace and the job and the careers that you're involved in your interests. People will be amazed because you'll understand them and they'll feel closer, they'll trust you, and this will benefit you greatly. I hope this lesson's been helpful and want you to move on to the next lesson.